and a little bit of a bop to that tune. I am here with the lovely Margaret Pinard, who will forever be known as the woman who saved me on my first live stream. So it's always very apt when she is here. Although I've just realized last time you invited me onto your channel for a live stream, we had cake and it was amazing.
Yes, tea and cake. We spilt the tea and we had the cake and we celebrated 10 years. It was
amazing. And now we don't have cake. And I'm like, I dropped the ball here. You're never going to
got gummy bears for Nano and fancy chocolate for Nano. So, I mean, we can always bring it.
I have nothing in my life. Oh, I did actually just have some chocolate, honestly. It was pretty good. It was like sea salt, dark chocolate. It was
dark
pretty
chocolate.
delicious.
That's the way to go.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, we are here to talk about Margaret's box set. So it is a set of 3 ebooks, and it is the Remnants trilogy. I keep wanting to say Rembrandts, like the band, and I'm like, no. So if I say it,
I'm sorry. I would say the artist.
Oh my God. Margaret correcting me within, well, less than 2 minutes into a stream. Come on. Fair enough. The artist, whatever. Let's see who's in the chat first of all, and then we will get chatting about your box set. Shannon is here.
This was today.
Yeah, and I get one more 500-word session on the Nano novel. And yeah, Margaret and I were just chatting because that's how I've been working since I kind of got my bum in gear and properly started doing Nano for like the last 4 days.
And I saw your day 9 short, and you said, "Oh, the 500-word sprints are working." So I was like, I guess I'm taking a page out of it.
And Paris is saying hello to you, Margaret. He says,
"Hello,
congratulations on your box set. I'm so proud of you, and I really love your channel. And everybody should subscribe. And Mummy's definitely put the link in the description below." Thank you, Paris. That was very helpful. We make it work. Paris, if you go into that kitchen, oh my goodness, he's just gone into the kitchen to go and raid food. Margaret, would you just talk to the audience just for a second while I retrieve my dog? Thanks.
Yes, I thought the door was closed. I thought we were all safe, but apparently no one is safe. So, hi everybody. Yes, box set. And what Emma doesn't know, and what I will tell you, is that I'm going to ask her questions today too. So if you've got questions for either of us, pop it down in the chat. We'll just be chatting about writing and publishing today.
Exactly. And if you do have a question, can you kind of put a Q at the front of it in the chat so that I can find it easily? Dog has been retrieved. He was at the chicken pan that's still in the sink. When you have a big dog, they can just jump up at the sink and help themselves to whatever they want in it.
Yes. What is in the sink? A chicken what?
A chicken pan. We had some chicken, so there's like grease on the chicken pan.
Are all gonna, yeah, gotcha.
It wouldn't fit in the dishwasher. This is a lot more information than anybody needed about what's going on in my life right now, but that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Anyway, RC is here. Hey, hey. And Buttercup, yay, who is present. It sounds quite good, doesn't it? And Eloise, who's asking if you did get the 500-word session in.
I got a little over 2,000 words today, so I'm up to 18K, which is good.
Well done, well done. And it's early for you still. It's 8 o'clock here.
Yes, it is noon, but I have this interview, and then I have an interview on Instagram Live, which I'm hoping my old iPhone 6 will work for, because that's what I do Instagram on. So we'll see. I'm assuming that it'll work for Instagram Live on Mary Weber O'Malley's channel. So we'll see.
Cool. If you want to, do you want to stick like a link to where that will be or something?
Oh yeah.
People want to.
Let's see if it comes out as you.
Oh, that would be fun. Yeah. We have a lot of fun playing around with this, don't we?
Sure.
And Alice is here. Hey, hey. And Felicia. Hey. look at you being all fancy. Yeah, no. There we go. All the words. Buttercup had mango, so that was my sugar for today. Oh, how virtuous. Cool. Gamer is here as well. And the other Laura. Get that pup. Indeed, indeed. We've got 8 questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to star that question, then we can go through questions at the end. Oh, it does show up as me. It looks like I wrote it. That's cool.
Who's doing multiple things at once? Ooh, sleight of hand.
No, everybody knows I can't do that. That's the thing. Everybody's like, that's clearly Margaret. But that is the link.
You have assistants for. That's how authors do it all if they're big and famous.
Amazing. You reckon? You reckon? Okay, so your box set. So we do have the picture of it to go up, but we were trying to work out the best way to put it. So I think thing is, then we can't see what your name is because it's on your name, but we can see the beautiful box set.
The other option is boop. Then we're just like magic invisible behind it. So whichever.
The voices. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. So first of all, why did you decide to do a box set, and why do you think box sets are a good idea for an author to have? Is what I want to ask.
Well, I had these people telling me and giving great examples of putting them out and saying, yeah, it's another way for your work to reach readers. So I was thinking about this and I was like, it's kind of like offering different sizes in a t-shirt, right? Or like offering the mouse pad and the coffee mug. And like, if you like a design, maybe other people will like it if it's on a different product. And so looking at it from a business perspective, it's a way to get to people that may not want books singly, or may want the affordability of a deal when they're all together, or have you just haven't seen it yet because it's in a new medium. So yeah, it's very exciting because it's a new cover. So I have different images, and hopefully it communicates something a little different. And so that again reaches different people, different audience, different readers, and hopefully people like it.
Yeah. Because when my box set came out earlier this year, my publishers got in touch with me and they were like, would you be interested in having a box set? Because their idea is that it would get more readers kind of reading my stuff before my next release, which came out like 2 weeks ago. But what they did was they put it super cheap, which like I get their reasoning, but you know what it's like as an author, it's like, you know what, that took a long time. That was 5 books, if you've got any idea, like the tears that were shed. So I think what's really lovely as an independent author is that although you are making it so that it's more affordable for people to have these 3 books, you're setting it as a price that is also sensible for you and isn't like completely ridiculous.
Yeah, price controls. That's a whole different conversation in terms of like which path you're choosing and what rights you give up and what the trade-offs are, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean the cover is like absolutely beautiful, and I kind of feel like I've been on this ride with you a little bit. This cover.
So I have. So here's the thing. Here's the process. The process involves crafting the cover, because the words are already there, right? Hey, Leslie, the words are already there. But what you have to do to reformulate into a new product is have the new cover, the new graphics, the new formatted interior, and a new ISBN, because again, it's a new product. So when I sat down to do this, I started a file that was a new formatted thing, and then I just sort of got, oh no, overwhelmed. This is like a year plus ago. And one of the things that I kept in there from the original books was the acknowledgements from each book. So 2015, 2017, 2019. Nice. They're like little time capsules. And I kind of want to like, I don't let those be lost. So I have those in there as well as like a final acknowledgements. And both you and Shannon are in the acknowledgements because you were basically the 2 people who pushed me into the path of getting this out. And so, yes, I have you to thank. And so you're definitely in there at the end in the grand 2023 acknowledgements. Because Shannon was the one who suggested doing a box set. She's also instrumental in having me think about new covers as a just technique to get the book in front of more people. That came from her being, I think, a guinea pig on Courtney Project's page, where she was doing free sort of cover.
Oh, yes, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool. That was a really great resource. And so, yeah, I was like open to the idea. And then it took, I don't know why. It's because I'm a tourist or something else, and why things take so long for me to decide to do. But yeah, it just took a long germinating season. And then finally, I saw your box set success, and I thought, okay, send me a name. Let me see if this looks good. And you sent me a great name, which was Sasha Alsberg, who I'd already heard of. And yeah, so I was like, all right, let's get this in gear. I'm ready to spend money. I'm ready to like do this new thing to get myself. So when your publishers were saying we want to sort of prime the pump for your next release by putting this out as a loss leader, maybe for me it was a prime the pump in the sense of I want to get something out and engage people so that I'm very excited. I'm excited enough to like get going on my next manuscript, which is where I am now with Nano. Woo! So it worked.
Yeah. But I mean, like, it is a big decision to make, because hiring, you know, a professional cover designer and doing all the formatting and things, it's a big job. I mean, you say that it took you a long time to decide, but yes, because it's a big deal. It's not something that you can just do over a couple of days and be like, there you go, it's done. You know, aside from
the formatting was like 3 intense days where I was like, okay, remember, Scrivener does this and this rule and that rule, and some frantic emails to Scrivener.
Sure.
And it was made complicated because I have Scrivener on an old computer, and all my manuscripts are on an old computer. But the marketing stuff and the cover design stuff was definitely a much longer process. So yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about the stories, because I asked you when we were like discussing this, I said, oh, like, why did you choose these particular books? And you were like, well, because those are the ones that go together. But because I didn't know these stories, they're not ones of yours that I've read. So can you tell us a bit more about them?
Yeah, definitely. So this trilogy that spans 6 years of my writing life was my okay, we'll wait. I'm gonna pop over to the chat to just say hello while I'm not in the frame. Nicole, Laura, other Laura, Eloise, Leslie, Richard. Individual covers. Here's the deal with the individual covers, Richard. It's an ebook box set. Yes. Hi, Bonnie. The individual covers will come out as paperbacks, but be released separately so that I can focus on them one at a time. So it'll be like a release, almost like a new product, but just celebrating the new cover. So the keening will be, yeah, I do not. Keening will be December, so they're like the first Tuesday or whatever it comes out as. The Grasping Root will come out in January, and Stormwreck and Spindrift will come out in February. So you will be able to get all of the new paperbacks if you want, so you can hold out for that. But the story, which I was going to start, but I didn't want to do it while Emma was out. So I started on this because I am a historical fiction nerd, and I sort of like tuning into forgotten moments in history where I can nerd out. And this was sort of between the Highland clearances of the 18th century and Culloden and all that sort of Outlander stuff, and the Victorian sort of, you know, already ushering in the Industrial Revolution, and Britain is the leader. And it's this sort of change in the middle where everything was in upheaval and you didn't know how it was going to end up. And so I thought that was really interesting. And it was also a lesser written about period. So I thought, oh, perfect. And then I found out why it's lesser written about, because it's harder to find stuff and it's harder to market it. And there's like no name. People, it's not Regency, it's not Georgian, it's not Victorian. Like, what do you call it? Yeah. So, you know, found out the hard way. But I also enjoyed making it a sort of saga, a sort of intergenerational family story about immigration and trying to find your way in a new country, and being resilient against lots of struggles and oppression, prejudice, and that kind of thing. And so that was a good training for like trying to write things that foster compassion in people today. So that was my aim.
Oh, that's nice. But which is your favorite?
My favorite of the trilogy?
Mm-hmm.
The last one.
Because you were finished.
You know, it's from the old covers. I'll show you. It's my least favorite cover in the old covers because it doesn't fit in because of color. So I wanted to do complementary, sort of like blue, green, orange is what I decided on in terms of the theme and whatnot. But the orange that the cover person gave me came out just like dull. It's not bright at all. And so I constantly, whenever I used it in graphics, had to lighten it up. And I'm like, this is stupid. So I really like the book, but I just got annoyed with the cover. So yeah.
So
that is dual storyline. So we have two siblings. One is the youngest, who stays in Canada, and he's trying to go to college, and he's like going to town and leaving the farm and sort of getting in an argument with his brother. And then the other one is the sister who gets married and goes back to Scotland to try to start over back there where her husband has a job, and sort of like the ghosts of the past follow them and that kind of thing. So yeah, I do love that structure because I think it's the most organized I've been and the most like logical in my storytelling.
Okay. Yeah, I love it when you've got kind of a dual timeline, dual characters. I think that works really, really well. So how do you go about researching? Because I've written like half a Regency at this point. And I had a great deal of fun researching that. I mean, I maybe pushed the boundaries of what was reasonable, to be honest. Yeah, how do you go about when you start researching?
So it's kind of like, you know, that skit from, is it Modern Family, or is it, I can't remember which TV show, where the guy is folding in egg whites and the mother's like telling him from the instructions, fold in whatever it is. It's not egg whites. It's something really complicated, like shreds of cheese. And he's like, what does that mean? I hear you, but I don't know what you mean by fold in the eggs. And they just go back and forth sniping at each other. I feel like the interplay between researching and writing is just like back and forth. It's like folding in, and it's really, thank you, Eloise, Schitt's Creek. It's really hard to describe. It's different every time. Like, I usually have to immerse myself for a good couple months and like, okay, I need to narrow down. Is this the event? Is that the event? Is this the city? Is that the city? Like, I need to decide and then focus and then gather enough so that I feel like, David, just hold it in, David.
I love that Eloise like knows the whole thing, and she wonders what she brings when she comes on my channel. It's stuff like that, Eloise. That's why we need you.
Chef's kiss. So like I have a good sort of underpinning of where I want to set it, but like right now on day 9 of Nano, I'm in a muddled middle kind of place where I'm like, okay, I'm unsure on like 7 different points of things happening and like reference documents. Like the general arc is going, but the reference documents I haven't lined up because I didn't know what was going to happen because I'm a discovery writer. So I'm sort of going through history. What's that?
It doesn't help when you're writing history.
No, but I mean, I'll find something that'll fit. So I just put brackets around like this document, this court case, like whatever it is that'll make fit into the story, and then come back later because I cannot stop at this point. I just have to keep writing and figuring out how she's going to make her way to the end, you know? So yeah, back and forth, just fold in the cheese.
So it's a case of that you kind of, you've decided on the period that you want to write about, and you kind of read about that until something like you get the germ of an idea, something kind of sparks your interest as like, oh, that's an interesting story, or that's an interesting event or whatever. And then you kind of build on that rather than, or is it the characters that come first?
No, the characters come when I draft. So it's like I set the time and place and then they just have to show up. So the things that I will need to do in the second draft or the third or however you want to count it is like those documents. Like that's going back into the archives of places and looking for correspondence records. I actually emailed the South Glasgow archives the other week and was like, how do I sign up for access? Do you have any of these files digitized from the Maxwell's sort of records from this certain time period? And I was like, that would be so cool. So when I do manage to get back over there, between Tuesday and Thursday, I will have to call ahead and make an appointment. So yeah, that sounds really fun. And that's like the best part of the whole research thing is like researching on site, seeing the place, and imagining like, okay, 180 years ago or whatever it is, like, what is this going to look like? What's still going to be here? Yeah.
So the book that you're writing at the moment for Nana, because I was going to ask what you're working on now. So that's set in Scotland, I'm guessing.
Yes. So this is set in Glasgow. It's 1845 or 46. I'm sort of figuring out where I'm going to like add stuff at the end after the drafting process. But so far it's like 1845, 1846. And there's two sort of threads that the main character is following, and this is why I'm in the muddled middle, because I have followed one and now I'm like, oh, I need to catch up on the other one. So
I forgot about that one.
yeah,
I would do that. I'd get carried. I'd probably have a favorite and I'd get carried away following them, and then I'd be like, oh dude, I'm so sorry, like come and catch up.
This morning I thought, ooh, do I need to bring in another point of view? Maybe.
Fun.
Yeah.
Fun. Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. I like it. And that book isn't linked to any of your other books, is it? This is a complete
no, but I'm looking for the opportunity to put in an Easter egg from this trilogy. Like, because it'll only be 8 to 10 years after the last book, Stormwrack and Spindrift. And I thought, well, they're going to be on the north side and my person is on the south side. And like, there's got to be some way. I keep sprinkling secondary characters that I don't know like who's going to take, and I'm like, there's some way to work her husband in. So I haven't done it yet, so that's still to come.
Yeah. So what
do you ever do that with your books? They're standalones, but
yeah. In what book is it? Starstruck. In Starstruck. My rock star, Joseph, he hires a professional chef to come and cook for him. And that chef is the love interest in my novella, Just Desserts.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So that's quite a nice
little... I know which one I have to read next.
Yeah, that's kind of like quite a nice little one, because you find out what's happened with him and the heroine from Just Desserts. So I quite like that. And I would like to do more, actually. That would be good.
Yeah.
I think it's a fun thing. I know Page 2, and I don't know if you've read anything by her. She's a British author, and her books always make me cry. But I don't think she does it quite so much now, but definitely in the earlier books, there were a lot of Easter eggs and little cameo appearances from characters from previous books, which was really nice if you knew those characters. So we have a couple of questions, which we should probably get to. Yes, yeah. Tips on ensuring your two POVs sound different. Are yours in first person or third? And does your number of POVs dictate your decision on that? Like, is dual POV third person trickier due to distance? That's a long question, Eloise. That's intense. I'm glad I'm not you at the moment, Margaret. Good luck. Best of.
You know, so in formatting this box set, I had to go back and add narrator tags at the beginning of chapters because of consistency. I didn't want it to look silly. And so when I went back, I was like, oh, I have multiple POVs in the first book. I forgot that. So I have 3 POVs, but like 2 are more constant. And then in the last book, it's 2. And in the middle book, I think it's 3 again. And I didn't do, who is it? I think it's Laurie R. King. So I just reviewed one of her Holmes Russell books, Castle Shade, in my last wrap up. And she does, in her long series about Sherlock Holmes and Mary Russell, a first person Mary Russell, who's our endearing, witty, funny heartbreaking character. And then a third person, Sherlock Holmes, every once in a while when she needs to like take the heat off and like give something that Mary can't have seen.
Right.
And it does delineate very clearly, but I don't find that I need to in my books. Wonder what the difference is. I think because she's preserving an air of mystery and suspense more than I need to in my more like literary historical. So if Eloise is writing in romance, do you know?
No, she writes historical fiction set in, well, it's like, no, it's not historical. Well, it's Greek gods and goddesses, basically.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
The right words. I can't find them. It's amazing. I cannot wait. This is my Roman Empire.
So tips on ensuring that they sound different. You could always do that with dialogue. You could always do that with like internal monologue that will give you a chance to voice your character's very different voices. You could do that with pacing. If someone is much faster thinker than another, if someone is more plotting and they have longer paragraphs, or I don't know, ellipses or em dashes, punctuation. Yeah, there's lots of tools. And then more than 2. Have you ever done more than 2 POVs?
I haven't. No, I haven't, because of the romances I read, it's very much those 2 characters. But I was editing a book for somebody last week, and she had 3 main POVs, but actually 6. And she hadn't yet, like, they were very different in terms of how they spoke and things, but because they were all in the same place, basically, it was just it was quite confusing, because
Sounds like it would break up the action a lot.
Yeah, it broke up the action a lot, but more than that, it took you a little while to work out who was speaking. So I did say to her, look, just put the name at the top of the chapter, just put who's speaking, because it's the simplest way for the reader. In this case, it's not like a mystery where part of it is like, who is this? You're wanting to read this book, and you're not wanting to be bogged down trying to spend, a couple of pages working out who it is. It's actually talking. Just make it easy for the reader in that case. That's what I say. Yeah, it was. But she is apologizing for the length of the question.
So were you in the conversation in the last few days where Shannon used a term that was like, that meant the package of things that you send to your cover designer? Nice.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like reference images, and that was what I was used to calling it, but she had a more fancy term. Do you know what she was talking about? We were talking about like cover design at one point. No?
No.
Okay.
No, it wasn't there. No. Yes, Eloise says, one that I'm getting ready is for a dual POV fantasy romance and can't decide if I should stick with third or first, worried about my narrative voice being too similar in third. Yeah, I guess that could happen, couldn't it? Potentially. I naturally write in third, but
one of the funny things that's happening with my nano novel is that I've had a couple of points where I've gone from past tense to present. And I'm like, that's interesting. Why is that important? And I just like left a note and was like, okay, keep going. If that's what I'm hearing, that's what I'm going to write.
Keep going, honey. No idea why we're doing this, but you're doing it for a reason.
Yeah. At the drafting stage, it's really just like whatever comes out. Like I need to figure out how it gets there.
Sort it out. You see, that's completely different to me. I'm like, we need to be focused. We need to get this done. This first draft needs to be really, really good. We're not wasting words. We're getting the good words, which is possibly why I found it so hard to get into nano this year, honestly, because I've been fussing quite a lot. Eloise also asked, do you work on more than one project at once? If so, how do you juggle them?
I think that's a good question for Emma as well.
We're not talking about
so many projects at once. I think we're going to be more the expert. So I have in the past tried to coordinate projects so that I would have a draft that I could put away, turn to another manuscript and edit it, and then turn to another manuscript and market it. Like that is the ideal, I feel like, in the indie pub world.
Yeah.
But it didn't really work for me. So I'm a slower writer, I think, first of all, is the problem. And once I got out of like having something ready to go into the next phase, it was just like, okay, I'm not in the cycle anymore. So that fell apart. But I've definitely had drafting different projects at once. And how would I juggle them? I think the closest I can come as an example is like when I'm writing for marketing and when I'm writing for fiction, because that's two separate tasks. I don't think I could do 2 fiction manuscripts at the same time. That would sort of, I would just start getting them confused. I can read, if they're different enough, I can read fiction at the same time, different formats, different settings. But I worry that if I did 2 that were too similar, they would just start to bleed together, and then I would have to like comb it apart like a big sheep's wool mess. Yeah.
No, I agree completely. I think my heroines would just merge, honestly, if I was trying to write 2 different, particularly if they were both contemporary romances. Definitely, I always work on one manuscript at a time, and then only when that's finished. I mean, like for example, now I'm doing Nano. I'll finish the first draft, and then I'll put that away for a while, and I'll go back to the Regency, and then kind of when the first draft of that's finished, then I'll go back to this one. So I can do that, go between drafts, but I only kind of actually physically working on one at a time. Otherwise, I would go completely crazy, honestly. Eva was commenting about how you work. She was saying that's how I wrote every term paper too. Find something to support this with a source, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. Bracket, bracket, bracket.
Bracket. We'll sort it out. And Jocelyn has popped in as well. Awesome. So you have been doing amazing work marketing this box set. I mean, it looks beautiful anyway, so like it's easy to market. Obviously, you did have a fantastic model to help you with this, though. I mean, I take it that he's not here, but have you got any tips for anybody who is an indie author who's either bringing out a book that has been reinvented, if you like yours, or a new one? Is there anything in particular that you've discovered now with this most recent release that is working well?
So here's what I would say, and this will not apply to many people, but in my case, this is what I have been learning in this process. I actually put up an Instagram post and asked for questions. So one of the questions is sort of prompting me to angle this answer to answer both at the same time. And that was from James Estrada. And he asked, what has changed in your mindset now versus a couple of years back as a writer? And so this is where this comes in, because I think a couple years ago when Shannon first said, hey, just package it as a box set, get it out the door, and then you'll be back in the cycle. And I was like, that's a good idea. Why am I so stuck on this? Is that when you have invested yourself in a story, in a book, and it goes out into the world and it's like just sat there, you're like, there's no big buzz, it's like years old. There's sort of an emotional attachment that you have to break before you can say, okay, I'm going to look at this analytically, I'm going to look at this more objectively and say, now as a business instead of as the writer, how can I get this to a different audience? How can I think about dispassionately getting this to people who will appreciate historical fiction about a family saga in the 19th century and, get excited about that again without having the attachment to, oh, it's over and like it's done, like that sort of sad feeling. And so that's probably what took me the long time. And then I don't know, being on AuthorTube may have like helped reinforce the looking at it analytically. And then being able to be like, okay, I'm going to jump in Scrivener. I've done this 5 times already. I know how to do it. And I have all these people who have great tips about how to do this part of marketing, how to do that part of marketing. And I have all this office supply paper about like, remember to do this, remember to do that. One of the things that you highlighted in a reel recently, I believe, was talking about a checklist. And I've tried, and I sort of go on and off the wagon of having checklists for everything. Obviously, a launch schedule is like the number one. Like, you want to make sure you do certain things when you're launching a new book. But whenever I was posting an Instagram story, is what you highlighted. It's like, make sure there's music, make sure there's a color background, make sure there's a moving object, make sure you tag. And I have, you know, all the platforms things to track. And like, once I knew I was going to make this thing, put it out in the world, it was like, okay, and now I've got the tools and I can put it all together and put it on paper so I don't forget, which is key. And I felt equipped rather than feeling like, oh, I'm just going to put it out there and I can't invest myself in it. You know, like, I'm more comfortable investing and having more tools to say, okay, we're going to try, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
So that's what's changed, I think, over the pandemic, with the author friends I've made on AuthorTube and the, like, being able to distance myself from previous writing and just treat it as a business. So
yeah, because I mean, yeah, like we both were published for the first time 10 years ago, as we discussed on your stream. And I think, like, I'm sure it's the same for you, like 10 years ago, yeah, we didn't have the author friends that we do now. We didn't have the platforms that we do now, and just generally the support. So we are so lucky to have that now. Yeah. And also what you said, I think when you produce a book and you're so proud of it and you put it out there, it is so hard to be dispassionate about it. If it's not selling, it's incredibly hard to go, okay, so there's something wrong here. So it's either my marketing, or, you know, is the cover not right? But if it's, you know, you've spent time, you spent money or whatever on that cover, and you love the cover, and it's so hard to be able to be dispassionate about that and go, okay, this is obviously not resonating with people. You know, is it the blurb? Is it, you know, whatever it is?
Right.
Yeah. And that is quite a skill that I think.
And I will say, I will
have.
I can rattle off the stats because I looked them up right before I came on.
Ooh.
So all my books on Amazon have 91 reviews. So there's a very small puddle of pond of, like, the audience that it has reached. So there's lots of room for growth. So that's what I tell myself when I'm like, just put it out there in a different form, and then it'll, you know, have the chance to reach more people. And now, instead of, like, you know, in the past when I made mistakes, when I didn't take advantage of opportunities and I didn't have the network that I do now. So that's why I'm like, okay, go out there, little duckling.
Yeah, but the thing, like, we know how hard it is to get reviews. I mean, you go 91 reviews, and it's like, there are hundreds of thousands of authors who would love to have a third of that, because it's so hard. People read the books and they come up and they're like, oh, Margaret, your book was so good, I so enjoyed it. Did they leave a review? No, they didn't. Did they even leave the rating? It's so easy to
right. You're like, just some stars. Some stars are good.
Just give me some stars, as many as possible, ideally, you know. But just please.
I've got a question for you that came up in the process of putting mine together. So I was curious. So when I had to go back and find not only the interiors that I had submitted, first of all, it is not made easy because you don't see which version you upload. It just sort of vanishes. There's no title in Amazon. So my strategy when I was publishing was to try, like, a different new thing each time, which has ended up in a sort of mishmash of statuses for each of my books, which is somewhat difficult, and I'm working to, like, streamline them at this point. But at the time, it was a good idea to not overwhelm myself when I was doing everything on my own. But also, when I had to look for whichever digital file that I had for the book to put it together, I was like, okay, what's the latest date? That's the date modified on the computer. And is it on Google Drive or is it on the hard drive? And like trying to locate this. Like, do you have a system where you keep all your end game covers, all your end game interiors? Like, or is it different for your trad pub books and your indie books? Because like one, you didn't have to submit yourself. How do you track all that?
Okay, so this is what I do, and this has been carefully honed, okay? Prepare yourself. You're not going to like it. This has been honed over 20 years, and this is it. Marry a man who refuses to delete anything on a computer, and then you make him understand that you are terrible at labeling files and doing that kind of thing. And so he gets so frustrated that he basically saves it all for you. And then when you need one, you just go, because I'm actually looking into, at the moment, I've got 2 ebooks out, which are they're novellas, and they've never been made into paperback. But one of them was dedicated to one of my best friend's dogs, there was a character in the book that was based on Douglas, who was the most amazing dog ever, but he passed away a couple of years ago. And I really, really want to do a paperback version of that book, especially for my friend. So I was like, well, if I'm doing that one, then I may as well do the other one. And finding the files is not going to be fun. But I feel, because I was looking at this on KDP, and I feel it said, like, I mean, whatever the file name was ridiculous. So stupid. But under the ebook thing, it did say like that this is, whatever, unnamed file 153. So what I need to do is actually write that down and tell my husband that he needs to go and find that file, I guess.
Well, I think, so you're saying on KDP, it does show you the file name? Yeah,
it's out as an ebook. So it shows me the file name that I upload is an ebook, and then I'll be able to use that to sort it out for the paperback. It's the royal we, by the way. I'm not actually going to do that.
Yes. I think maybe it's draft to digital, but I think it was KDP at some point. They didn't show you, or maybe it was CreateSpace. Either way, the different platforms through which my work reaches like retail is a patchwork, and that is part of the stuff I'm working on. But some of them show you and some don't, which actually helped, because I could go to one and go, oh, it was that file, and then find it. But yeah, the patchwork it's one of those trade-offs, because when you have a patchwork, you're able to be direct to some and experience that and use sales or use ads or see analytics that are more detailed. But for draft to digital, like, then you can go to one place and get a report to see all the sales. So it's not as detailed. So you're just like, it's can't have it all.
Not easy. Yeah, it's not easy.
Ooh,
but
always has all sorts of recommendations for file naming. Yeah. Nice.
I mean, that's a whole other life, and Richard will need to be here for that, honestly.
Yes, you're right. Yes.
But yeah, for my traditionally published stuff, I just sent them like the most recent copy that I had, I believe, of the books that were being republished by them. I think I had saved those. I think I was sensible enough that I had like a final versions folder, but obviously they edited those all over again. They formatted them all over again and stuff. So like, as long as the words are there,
Yeah. At one point I had tried to have a Google Drive so that it could go across computers, no matter what I had, that I would have final pub editions, and it would be like the covers and the interiors, and like any graphics that were like the really simple ones you could make others with. And that quickly, like, I don't think it's even up to date from last year. It's just like your back matter. Anything that you have to go and like water painstakingly each one at a time. I'm not that type of gardener, so it gets left by the way.
I know. We're creatives. We can't be expected to like
spreadsheets.
Spreadsheets. He was here.
Spreadsheet. There, we said it 3 times. Let's see if Richard comes back.
I wish if this was Sprints, I would subtly message him and be like, Richard, you gotta come in the chat. We're calling you. So Bonnie is wondering when you first published this set. So I'm guessing that you mean like the individual books. That's a good question.
Right. So this is the first time I've published it as a set, but the individual books came out in 2015, 2017, and 2019. So yeah, I wrote a little Patreon post about like putting it together after letting it sit and sort of processing all that stuff. It's a journey.
It is a journey. Did you find, like, particularly with the first one, did you find that you did make a lot of changes to it, or were you just like happy with it?
I didn't make any changes.
You didn't make any changes at all?
No. Cool. Just formatting, just for draft to digital version. So yeah. I may have had a file over the years where I like accumulated typos that people mentioned or I found, but who knows where that is now? 2015 is 8 years ago, so
I know.
Yeah.
No, I was just thinking that kind of every time, because like I've had books that have been republished like a few times now, and every time they have been, I've gone through them again, and I haven't really made any major changes. I know my publishers asked for, it wasn't a major change, but there was a little bit of a change towards the end of my book Starstruck. I had to redo a little bit of that. I can't remember why exactly. I don't know. I did it anyway. Yes, I always wonder, like when people go back and read their work from, you know, kind of 8 years ago, 10 years ago or whatever, you know, are you still happy with it, or are you, you know, going, oh, that's a bit, oh, I don't like, oh, I could do that better now.
There are things that I could do better, but it has to do with the whole character. You know, they sort of evolved as I got better. And so like, that's, yeah. One of my still open questions is like, when I release the paperbacks individually, do I give those new ISBNs? If I'm gonna make substantial changes to the interior, then yes, because that's what another ISBN is. But if it's just a new cover, then it says that you don't need a new ISBN. And I'm like, well, it's like a philosophical like debate at this point. Yeah.
So have you got the covers ready for the paperbacks now? Do you know what they're going to look like, or is that like for future Margaret?
I have the front covers ready. I think I still need to confirm with Sasha. They are in the box set. So that's a sneak preview for everyone who gets the box set. And I'm just not showing them on social media until I do like a reveal before they're released. So that's the special like sneak peek.
That's awesome.
And I haven't made the paperback version. So I'm going to be using D2D print for the first time, meaning they have a drop in your ebook cover and we wrap it around and sort of do a generic job. And then you could sort of tweak as you would like and put in your back cover copy and your barcode and all that sort of stuff that I'm used to doing already. And so we'll see how that works. That's the plan.
It worked well because I used it for my two nonfiction ones, and I was pleasantly surprised because, like, you know me well enough to know that I don't design covers usually, and that I'm pretty useless at like anything to do with that, anything to do with like graphics or fiddly stuff. No, but even I managed it. So.
Okay,
you know,
that's good. That's encouraging.
Although they were, I have to say though, they were very simple. Like they were Emma covers as opposed to Margaret covers. I feel. That's the distinction.
I think nonfiction is less. It should be simpler than fiction covers.
Yeah, and especially the back cover. You know, I think it can be very plain for nonfiction, and like nobody cares. So it's cool. Right. Yeah, Bonnie saying 90 reviews, awesome. 91. Never forget the one. Maybe 92 now. There could be somebody here in the chat who's like, "Oh, I didn't write that review of Margaret's book."
Pointing them out. Yeah.
Actually,
but the other interesting The other interesting thing about these books is that they're all nano novels. I drafted all of these during a NaNoWriMo. So
Oh,
like
that's
that's
so
the other cool thing
cool.
is that it's proof you too can publish
Awesome.
books that started in nano. So that's something to be proud of. Like following it to the end. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Have you put anything about that? Like, have you done any marketing about that as it's obviously NaNoWriMo at the moment?
Have I done any marketing for which part?
Yeah, like the fact that the books are
Combining the
written
two?
during Nano. Well, you could
No,
do like, I don't know, like
it just occurred to me like when I was preparing for this. So like yesterday and today. So I haven't done anything based on that, but it is a good connection. And I'm going to try to either, I don't know, put it in a description of a video or make some, Twitter, Instagram stories, stuff like that about it. That'd be good.
Yeah, it could be cool. Like you could do kind of there's a particular like sound that's used. I can't think of it, but you could have you kind of like during Nano, like all stressed and crazy, and then like this is the end result, and you've got like your amazing box set
That's
kind of thing.
true. See, there you go. You're a natural at these like TikToks.
Yeah, I don't do it. I don't actually do it. I can talk the talk. I don't actually do it.
Did you see my author nerd like sort of dance movie? I put out one YouTube short for the book, and that's what I did. I was like, this is the time I'm gonna pretend that I'm gonna do a TikTok dance. It was fun.
Yeah, I was like, TikTok broke Margaret. It was awesome. It was really good. No, I'm very, very impressed. I think the way that I look at how you are just like trying all these different things with shorts and things, it's so cool. And I feel it's almost like, when you were little and like a new machine came into the house, and because you didn't pay for it or whatever, you pressed all the buttons and you worked out how to use it. That's you. You're trying out all these other things, and it's awesome. It's like, yeah, okay, you'll find out about this, and you'll find out about this, and you'll find out about this. And I'm like, no, anything could happen if I press that button. I'm not gonna like try for
Yeah, if you're not paying for it, that's the crucial difference. I was thinking, and I don't have a topic. I've left it open for Sunday's video. So I normally have Wednesday and Sunday streams. And I said something author related in my planner. And I was like, oh, what would be really good is if it was something about vertical format videos, but I haven't like got enough down. It's kind of like Shannon saying, I don't know if I can talk about the Kickstarter. And she has like belted it out of the water, whatever the metaphor is, like did a fantastic job. Like I've only done one. I'm like, yeah, but it was a success. So I feel like, I've got
success.
but I fiddled with it. That's what I would be presenting to people is like, if you do it in this order, this happens, and that sucks. If you do it in this order, this happens, and that has to be worked around. That's what I figured out so far. Ta-da! How helpful would that be?
I love it. Louise is saying the panicked running sound and the la la sound. Why do I know exactly what you're talking about? It's the one that it's like it goes, let's skip to the good part or something, I think is the one that I'm thinking of.
Oh, the AJR, yeah. I like that.
Yeah, and then you could have you like, well,
that's good. I will use that and I will tag you.
Yay! I helped.
That's perfect, yeah.
I helped. That's awesome.
I have a whole list. So, in that thing when I was talking about having a checklist and just like having the tools and going through it, I have a whole list of sounds that I've saved and like formats of videos that I could do on TikTok, but it's just like I would have to make them. And they don't let you save them in final format. I mean, you can have them in your drafts folder, but it's very finicky. I find I can only do it if I'm going to publish it right then. So that means that I can't do it in a batch. I can't do it ahead of time. I have to like wait, which means that I don't get to be very regular about it. But yeah.
Sure.
Stupid. Oh, see, Eloise would watch vertical formatting. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see if I can get enough together so that I don't feel like the blind leading the blind on Sunday. And if so, that'll be Sunday's topic.
There we go. What I want to know is when you like cut from a big video and make it into a short, So you're changing it into vertical formatting. Like, how do you do that? Because like, just how? I don't understand how that would work. Like now, if we're
on which platform you're going to send it to.
Okay, YouTube. Like YouTube, if we said something particularly witty and wonderful right now, and I wanted to kind of cut it and make it into a short, like I don't get how that would happen. Do they squish us together? Like,
no, you would be SOL. As far as I can tell, if you have two people this far apart, you cannot cut it to be short, because you'll get the middle or you'll get one person. The
what if
dimensions
you
don't
went
allow
like
you.
this? What if you like? I'll take that. You're so weird.
You do that. See how it looks. No, what I started doing, because like my plan for fireside chats was to have little clips that I could use as little highlight reels to point people back to that playlist. But then I realized after like 10 days of it, I was like, oh, I can't cut any of these. And so I started putting us on top of each other and changing the layout so that we would be above and below during the sprinting part, so that I could at least use those. And then I had to like switch back like a different camera angle. It was very intensive, but you know, I did a few of them.
We're silly is what we are.
Yes.
Yeah, we have to stay like that for long enough, because we can have like a minute. You know, we could do a minute short. We have to keep it natural.
Yes. Or the way you work around, when I had a few that I really wanted to do, is okay, so here's what I did. I imported it into iMovie, and then I copied every time that I wanted to switch angles, and then just shifted. So that was fun.
Yeah. Again, that doesn't seem like the kind of thing I'm going to do, but thank you for being the pioneer.
Yeah, I could say, here's how I failed in 54 different ways. Don't do this at home, boys and girls.
But failures teach us.
Yeah, exactly.
You need the failures. Yeah, you know, that's how we get the wins, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Okay. I think we will wrap it up now, because we have been nearly an hour having a lovely chat. Thank you so much, Margaret, for coming to talk about your gorgeous, gorgeous box set. Would you like to do a little bit of an outro?
Sure. Thank you, Emma Bennet, for having me on your channel and being the superstar of retweets and shares. It was lovely, lovely to have someone so excited about, you know, my work and sharing it out. And so that is the box set that is out this week. As I said, I'll be formatting the paperbacks and releasing them December, January, February. So if that is your jam, there'll be new covers in the next 3 months. Other than that, I am doing nano along with all of you in the trenches, and we'll be happy to see you in the chats and on my channel if you're not already there.
Cool. Awesome. I am Emma Bennet. This is my YouTube channel. I am going to be live tomorrow on Richard Holliday's channel doing some sprints. I'm also going to be on Self Pub with Andy's. This is going to make it the best.
I feel like I'm leaning against a door trying to eavesdrop like this.
Anyway, I'm going to be in Self Pub with Andy's channel on Saturday as well. And I'm going to be part of Author and Sophie's 30-hour write-a-thon this weekend as well. So there's plenty of time to see me in the next few days if you would like to. Please remember to boop that like button if you haven't already, and subscribe if you are not, because we have a lot of fun here. And you never know, maybe Margaret will come back again soon. And yeah, I'll catch you next time. Have a very good rest of your day. Bye.
Cheers. Don't forget your